Okay, hello everyone. So in today's lecture we'll look into the very basic concept of ketone bodies, that is ketogenesis process. So we look into the detail about how these ketone bodies are synthesized, and the process of synthesis of ketone bodies is called ketogenesis. So how this ketogenesis process happens, we look into the detail. We also look into the substrate of ketogenesis, how these ketone bodies formation starts, what is the starting substrate of ketone bodies formation, and we will also look into the cellular side where that ketogenesis process happens, as well as the subcellular side where that ketogenesis process takes place. So starting with the ketogenesis, if we have to define ketogenesis, in terms of definition, we can say that the formation of ketone bodies from acetyl-CoA is called ketogenesis. Okay, so the ketogenesis process involves formation of ketone bodies from acetyl-CoA, and these ketone bodies, remember, these are source of energy for some of the peripheral tissues like skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, or renal medulla, or intestinal mucosa, or during prolonged starvation even brain can derive energy from ketone body. That's why ketone body formation is also necessary. Okay, so starting with the substrate, or first we look into the cellular site where that ketogenesis process happens. So cellular site is liver. So liver is the only place where ketone bodies are synthesized. Subcellular site, the organelle where this ketone bodies formation takes place is mitochondria. So it takes place inside the mitochondria of the liver. Okay, and the substrate for ketogenesis is, substrate molecule for ketogenesis is acetyl coenzyme A. So here one point you should remember is that this acetyl-CoA is mainly derived from beta oxidation of fatty acid. So this is the source of acetyl-CoA, that is beta oxidation of fatty acid. So in normal individuals, some amount of fatty acid which undergo beta oxidation, where this acetyl-CoA is produced, and this few amount of this acetyl-CoA goes into ketone bodies formation. So that ketogenesis process happens inside hepatocyte. And you know that generally biochemistry we have to study about different metabolic pathway, and it's very difficult to remember each and every steps. Okay, so I am trying to make it interesting by narrating the story of ketone bodies formation. Okay, so let's look into the story of ketone body formation. Okay, so as I told you, the starting substrate for ketone body formation is acetyl coenzyme A. So imagine the starting step, the first step is where these two acetyl-CoA come together. Acetyl-CoA, two molecule of acetyl-CoA comes together. So imagine acetyl-CoA, as a like-minded people, and both of them are getting married. Okay, so these are two molecules you can imagine as a separate, like-minded people, and they are getting married. So once they got married, there was a birth of a son, okay, after a while. So these two molecules, imagine it as a like-minded people of acetyl-CoA. So two molecules of acetyl-CoA can be imagined as like-minded people who came together and they produce, or they gave birth to a son, okay, and that son name was acetoacetyl-CoA. Acetoacetyl-CoA. So the first step is pretty much clear now. Now, once this son was born and the name was given to the son was acetoacetyl-CoA, but later on this acetoacetyl-CoA, that son didn't like his name. He wanted to change his name to some other, good, nice looking name or manly name. So he changed his name to HMG-CoA. Okay. So he changed his name to HMG-CoA, but he was very happy after changing the name. So the second step is conversion of acetoacetyl-CoA to HMG-CoA. Okay, so the third part of the story is this HMG-CoA was very happy after changing the name, but people around his locality didn't like his name. Okay, they were not able to, he was not able to get recognized by this name called HMG-CoA. So he switched on to his original, something like his original name, that was ACETOACETATE. So he again changed his name to some, like his previous original name, something like previous original name, that was ACETOACETATE. So he changed his name to ACETOACETATE again. Okay. So the third product is ACETOACETATE. Now, once this thing happened, this ACETOACETATE got very frustrated, and because of repeatedly change of name, he has to face lot of problem. So he planned, or he adopted two child, one girl child and one boy, and he told them to, after adoption, he told them to, think of some name, and they decided that they are going to name themselves. The girl decided to name herself as ACETONE, as she was very sweet. So she named herself as ACETONE, and boy named himself as BETA-HYDROXY butyrate. BETA-HYDROXY butyrate. Okay. So the last product, you can see the formation of, there is a formation of acetone and beta-hydroxy butyrate. So the coming to the the main part. So from starting from the substrate molecule here is acetyl-CoA enzyme, which is derived from beta oxidation of fatty acid. This acetyl-CoA, two molecules of acetyl-CoA comes together to form aceto-acetyl-CoA. This aceto-acetyl-CoA further get converted into HMG-CoA. HMG-CoA is further converted into acetoacetate, and this acetoacetate is further converted into acetone and beta-hydroxy butyrate. So the point here you should remember is the first ketone body, primary usable ketone body which is synthesized is acetoacetate. So acetoacetate is the primary ketone body. Okay, and some amount of this acetoacetate undergoes spontaneous decarboxylation, where carbon dioxide molecule is removed and there is a formation of sweet smelling acetone. So it has a fruity odor. So this acetone is synthesized in very small amount, and rest of that acetoacetate, depending upon the availability of NADH, this acetoacetate is converted into beta-hydroxy butyrate. So we have three ketone bodies. The first primary ketone body is acetoacetate, and the secondary ketone bodies are acetone, which is synthesized in very small amount, and then we have this beta-hydroxy butyrate. So there are basically three ketone bodies, that is acetoacetate, acetone and beta-hydroxy butyrate. Now the question arises, what is the use of these ketone bodies? So you should remember this, that both this acetoacetate and beta-hydroxy butyrate can be utilized by peripheral tissues for its energy purpose. So once they are synthesized, since they are water soluble in nature, they can easily enter into blood. So both these acetoacetate and beta-hydroxy butyrate enter from liver inside blood, and from blood they can be taken up by peripheral tissues like skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, or renal cortex, or intestinal mucosa for its energy needs. So some amount of ketone bodies can be taken up by these tissues. And remember, during prolonged starvation, even brain can also utilize ketone body for its energy requirement. So during prolonged starvation, 70% of the ketone bodies are used by brain for its energy requirement. So if somebody asks you where ketone bodies serves as a source of energy, so the answer being, these ketone bodies being water soluble in nature, they can easily enter blood, and from blood they can go into peripheral tissues like cardiac tissue, skeletal muscle, renal cortex, intestinal mucosa, or even during prolonged starvation, this can be used by brain as a source of energy. So this should be the right answer. Now coming to the clinical significance of the ketone bodies. So generally inside blood, ketone bodies amount is very less. So the normal value of ketone bodies is around 1 mg per dl. Okay, and the ketone body synthesis generally increases during certain clinical condition or during certain physiological condition also. So ketone body synthesis will increase during prolonged starvation. Why that happens? So during prolonged starvation, carbohydrate, we are not taking carbohydrate as a source of energy. So body start utilizing other sources of energy. And one of the source which is being used is fatty acid derived from the breakdown of triacylglycerol inside adipocyte. So this fatty acid will enter inside the liver and it will be converted into acetyl-CoA in large amount. And this acetyl-CoA will be used to synthesize ketone bodies. So the ketone body synthesis rate will increase and ketone bodies amount will increase in blood as well, and this can serve as a source of energy for brain during prolonged starvation. So during prolonged starvation there is increased level of ketone bodies in blood, as well as during severe uncontrolled diabetes. That is in those individuals who are not taking their diabetic individuals who are not taking their medication regularly, or those individuals who are type 1 diabetes, there is a chance of developing the complication called diabetic ketoacidosis. So there will be increased level of ketone bodies in blood, and if the ketone bodies level inside blood increases, as all of you might be knowing, this acetoacetate and beta-hydroxy butyrate is an organic acid. So they release H+ ion, and that can decrease the pH of the plasma, and that can lead to a condition called metabolic acidosis. So I am going to revise the content whatever I told you just now. The basic step of ketogenesis, we looked into the very basic step of ketogenesis, where we look into there are 3 types of ketone bodies. That is, first one is acetoacetate, that is the primary ketone bodies. Then there is 2 more secondary ketone bodies, that is acetone and beta-hydroxy butyrate. And these acetoacetate and beta-hydroxy butyrate can serve as a source of energy for peripheral tissues like skeletal muscle, cardiac tissue, or intestinal mucosa, or renal cortex, or brain during prolonged starvation. Normal range of ketone bodies inside blood is 1 mg per dl. And the ketone body level will increase in certain conditions like during prolonged starvation, or it could increase during diabetic individuals who are not taking their medication properly, or in type 1 diabetes mellitus patient in the terms of there is acute complication associated with increased level of ketone bodies in those diabetic individuals, that is diabetic ketoacidosis. I hope this video was fruitful to you. You understood the basic concept of ketone body formation, and thank you for joining.